Only this, gentlemen, we must perform. The Faustus's fortunes, good or bad. To patient judgments we appealed our plod, and speak for Faustus in his infancy. Now he is born, his parents' base of stock in Germany within a town called Rhodes. Of ripened years to Württemberg he went, whereas his kinsmen chiefly brought him up. So soon he profits in divinity, the purple plot of scholasticism graced. That shortly he was graced with doctor's name, excelling all those sweet delight disputes in heavenly matters of theology, till swollen with cunning of a self-conceit, his waxen wings did mount above his reach. And melting heavens conspired his overthrow. And hello and welcome to Media Musings, where we are talking about Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus.
That was an interesting choice of introduction.
Yeah. Well, it's literally the way the play is introduced.
Yeah, but you did you gave an abridged version of the initial chorus.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
I am amused.
Hi, Microraptor, and hi, Linda.
Hi, everybody.
Now, yes. So currently we have Linda, Amiga Nuts, and Microraptor in the chat, and of course, hello to everyone who is lurking and or watching in the future.
Hi, Mega Nuts. I had top chat on, so I didn't even know Mega Nuts was there.
Yeah. So
hate it when it does that.
It's so annoying.
So I think we should have a bit of harmless fun before we warm up to my hot take, and then we'll kind of cool down with a general discussion of the play.
A bit of harmless fun talking about a man who made a deal with the devil.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Cool.
This bit of harmless fun. Who would you cast in the roles of the leads, that being Dr. Faustus and Mephistopheles?
Oh.
Any actor living or recently dead, and by recently dead I mean within a decade.
I feel like you're fishing for something.
No,
I'd be interested to see someone like Ralph Fiennes play Faustus.
Oh, yes. I think it'd be fascinating to have... oh, God, I had his name in my head and it's disappeared. Forget what I'm saying.
Dyslexia brain.
That's the drugs I just took. Drugs because I've got a cold, not drugs because I'm taking drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I remember. It'd be interesting to see Morgan Freeman play Mephistopheles.
I would be...
Well, actually, I'd say Morgan Freeman would be better as the chorus, because his voice is just
he's got the voice
wonderful.
for the chorus.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you want someone with some gravitas, though.
But Morgan Freeman's got that for the chorus, but the chorus doesn't necessarily need gravitas for this one.
Yeah.
I think I would find it potentially problematic, depending on how it was pitched, to have, and I know I'm creating a broad stroke comment with this, so don't take it like as gospel or anything. I would find it quite problematic to have any Black American actor playing Mephistopheles. Given some of the lines in the play.
Okay. Well, that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
And also because of that history of there is a great trope of, the black guy's the evil one, the black guy's the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I think.
if you're going to typecast somebody, you have what's his name? Who played Loki in Marvel, but
Tom Hiddleston.
I would.
Tom Hiddleston.
I think I would want an older actor as Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
Someone in the age range. I think Michael Gambon doesn't quite have the character to pull it off, but someone in that kind of age range.
No, not Michael Gambon.
Possibly,
I mean, before he died, William Hurt.
I could see her as a good Mephistopheles.
Mm.
With that in mind, I could, if we're going to go that route, I could see David Tennant as a good Faust.
Huh?
And Peter Capaldi as Mephistopheles.
Nah, Peter Capaldi's got too much of a darkness. He's got too much anger. Well, you need a character who can play the down, depressed, miserable old sod. No, there's no anger in Mephistopheles.
So
there's only sort of depression. There's a deep.
Having said that, we have seen David Tennant play an awesome devil character.
Oh yeah,
we have. He can play the devil characters really well.
So
but he's also very good at pulling off academics.
Yeah,
which I think is what we have to. I've been on a Hannibal binge, so I'm going to pitch Mads Mikkelsen as Faustus.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that whole. He plays Hannibal, and he's got that whole.
Yeah.
Big shot academic.
Yeah.
Thing going on. I feel like I'm avoiding the obvious that popped straight into my head.
Yeah.
Or which character?
Either or. I could see Alan Rickman pull off either or, depending on what.
Oh yes, Alan Rickman.
you hit on my dream Mephistopheles.
He would make a great Mephistopheles as an older Alan Rickman. When he was younger, he would have made a great Faustus.
Yeah.
He would. Yeah, you are quite right.
Now now he's a bit old for the part, at least for the beginning of the play. But I think Kelsey Grammer could also do a good Faustus.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was younger. Yeah.
What we really need is someone who can pull off that. Eddie Redmayne, I think, could make a good Faustus.
Oh, Eddie Redmayne is just an amazing actor.
Mm.
Yeah. And, I was going to mention the unmentionable person again. No.
Yeah.
No.
The channel punching bag.
Yeah.
The channel punching bag.
No, but Eddie Redmayne's very good at that sort of upper class philosopher academic character. He gets that a lot. He played one in obviously he did Fantastic Beasts, but he also did another one where he was a Cambridge student.
Yeah.
And he pulled that off really well. Can't remember the name off the top of my head.
What's his name? Who played Sherlock? Why can't I remember the actor's name?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
I could see him more of a Faust than a Mephistopheles.
Yeah,
I meant as a Faust, not as a Mephistopheles.
Yeah,
not as Mephistopheles.
Yeah, he'd be a great Faust because, like, having seen his Sherlock, having seen his Doctor Strange, he'd be a great Faust.
He's got that on-screen. He's very good at that on-screen arrogance that you need for Faust.
And Microraptor, that is a brilliant bastardization of his name, but I'm not putting it up on the screen because monetization. Not that I'll ever be big enough to be monetized, but
that is brilliant.
To be fair, that's not the worst bastardization of his name I've seen.
Yeah.
To be fair, Ring, I have probably said worse things on your streams.
Yeah.
Fair.
I know I've said worse things on your streams.
I'm trying to think who else would be really good at being Mephistopheles.
Okay, here's one. Who would you have as the good and evil angels?
Oh.
Because they don't get a lot of lines, but you've got to get the look right.
Yeah. Oh no! It'd be hilarious.
What?
Have Sean Penn as the good angel and David Tennant as the evil angel.
And the Doctor Who fans will rejoice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Benedict Cumberbatch is Faust. So,
Yeah.
but we still have to find a decent Mephistopheles. I mean, older Alan Rickman would be good, but given that we've actually picked out all actors who are actually living actors who you could actually cast, who would be a living actor that we could
Liam Neeson.
cast? No, I don't feel right about that.
Gerard Butler.
Oh, yeah. I could see Gerard Butler.
He's got that gruff grunt number 3 look about him, hasn't it?
Though you also need someone who can be snarky, because Mephistopheles is sassy as hell.
Given his role in The Witcher, thingy who played Superman.
Henry Cavill?
Wrong look. You'd need a lot of makeup and prosthetics.
Yeah, you're right. It's not the right. He could act it though. He could definitely act it.
He could act it, but in the face, he hasn't got the. He doesn't look like he's been ravaged in hell for half an eternity.
Yeah.
You want somebody who has that ravaged. Oh,
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen is awesome. What's his name from Men in Black?
The guy who plays Kay.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Even the guy who plays the head of Men in Black.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Rip Torn. Is he still alive?
Don't know. Who else is?
You know, he's not an actor, but who's got the look for Mephistopheles? Spielberg.
But
that's how I have that mental image of Mephistopheles. He's not a young man. He's a man who's been there, done that, seen it all.
What about Harrison Ford?
I don't know, because a lot of recent Harrison Ford is I don't want to be working. Well, actually, that is the perfect vibe for Mephistopheles.
It is.
I don't want to be working anymore. I am sick of this shit.
The other person who would look good now is Clint Eastwood.
I could see Clint Eastwood as a Mephistopheles. He could make a good.
I mean, he's got the look. In age, Clint Eastwood looks like he's been through wars. That's exactly the look he has about him, and he is a brilliant actor. I mean, I know these people remember him from his westerns more so than the other stuff and that. But I mean, he is a very talented actor who has a lot of scope. So as far as living actors go, he's not a bad choice.
Who's the lad who played? He played one of the Spider-Mans, and he did Hacksaw Ridge. He could make a good Faustus, or at least a good young Faustus.
Are you talking? Andrew
Garfield, Tobey Maguire, or whoever it is now? Who's I can't remember who the new Spider-Man is.
Garfield. Yeah.
Andrew Garfield. Yeah, he could work.
Yeah. When I saw him in Hacksaw Ridge, I will be honest, I cried. Yeah. He is a fan. He's got so much more scope than you'd think.
Yeah.
Who's the guy who played the inventor from Back to the Future? Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Someone in the micro-raptors just said Tom Holland.
Yeah, the current
Tom Holland's the newest. He's the current Spider-Man. He's a bit young for Faustus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Michael Fassbender could probably pull off a very unique Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
Not necessarily how I imagine him, but definitely with merit. Who would you have to play the devil? Because he only appears twice, but who would you have?
Well, the actual devil.
Lucifer.
Yeah, the actual devil, not the channel punching bag. Jen.
How about the guy who plays Lucifer on the TV series Lucifer? Because I love his Lucifer.
The thing about Renaissance depictions of the devil art, he's not handsome. He's not designed.
That doesn't matter though. That doesn't necessarily matter because you would have to use makeup for a devil character.
Yeah, no, but if you
like
wanted to stay true,
Danny DeVito is the devil. Is Danny DeVito still alive though?
Yes,
I think so.
He is. Yeah. Oh wow.
But yeah, no, I think definitely you'd have to go for a. Do you know who'd make a good devil? Who's that actor who's always got the really booming voice? Oh,
I don't think you mean Brian Blessed because he's dead.
Blessed,
no, but he's dead. But I do.
Yeah,
he would make an interesting devil, I think.
Yeah,
Sylvester McCoy would make an interesting Mephistopheles.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel
he's got the look for it. He's a bit short, but that wouldn't matter.
I feel like you're just going through all Doctor Who's, though.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I just happen to like Sylvester McCoy. Actually, I'm more picturing his role from The Hobbit than from as playing Doctor Who.
Like we said, there are problems with casting black people as the demon.
Although I would say, what's his name? The one everyone wants to do the next debate.
Oh, Samuel L. Jackson.
He would make a good chorus character.
Oh, yes.
He would be great as the chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic chorus. He played Diomedes in She-Ra, and he was good.
Yeah, have Samuel L. Jackson do the chorus and have him give him the lines as guidelines, and then just have him throw in how many motherfuckers he wants.
Yeah. It depends whether you were doing something that was trying to be absolutely true to the text or whether you were trying to do an adaptation as well.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing an adaptation, you wouldn't actually have a problem casting a person of color as the other roles because you could take out the problematic bits. So
yeah, but it's still the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
speaking of not black, not people of color, but for Faustus, Richard Armitage.
Huh?
Oh,
yeah,
I really like that.
If we had Richard Armitage opposite Alan Rickman in those two roles, yes.
Okay, so who's gonna try and hold up the Doctor so we can get Alan Rickman?
Hillary and Stephen Fry.
To be fair, I think if we asked the Doctor nicely, he'd probably help us out.
Well, actually, I could see Hugh Laurie as Mephistopheles.
Yeah, to be fair, Stephen Fry does have that, naturally has that arrogant academic who thinks he knows everything vibe. Yeah. So he could make a good
my problem with Stephen Fry is, whilst he's a brilliant comedian and he's a brilliant show host, I don't think he's a great actor.
No, because he plays himself in every role.
He does, and I don't think that would necessarily work.
For Faustus, it probably would.
For Faustus, yeah, but he's a bit old to play Faustus.
Oh,
though.
John Cleese. John Cleese is Faustus.
Younger John Cleese, yeah.
No. John Cleese as he appeared in The Meaning of Life in the sketch about sex education.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've been on this for about 20 minutes. So
yeah,
I think that's been a good warm up to my hot take, which I am going to phrase less hyperbolically. In that I feel like the character of Dr. Faustus is somewhat of a progenitor of the literary atheist stereotype.
Okay, elaborate.
Yeah.
So when you have more explicitly of the pure flicks atheist, the arrogant know-it-all who reaches beyond his means and just wants to sin.
So
the atheist as characterized by right-wing evangelicals.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say as characterized by Mr. Banana Man.
Yeah. But yeah, that stereotype of the atheist, in my mind, because I can't see any earlier examples, seems to have been projected, at least, heavily influenced by Dr. Faustus.
I do think Marlowe's Gaveston is, obviously it's not Faustus, it's Edward II, but Marlowe's Gaveston is that same sort of vibe of just wants to sin, kind of character going off. I think you're potentially being a little bit playful with definitions here, because what you are describing is not an atheist, it is a lapsed Catholic. And it is the characterization of the lapsed Catholic from the point of view of devout Catholics. It is the person who wants to return to God but feels they can't through their own pride and hubris. It is not an atheist.
And hello, Santi the Sane.
Hi, Santa.
Hi, Santi.
But more the more his characterization as the pompous know-it-all academic.
I would be hard. Unless you're talking like he's some sort of.
Because obviously,
the physicist in the wheelchair?
Huh?
The physicist in the wheelchair. His name's gone out my head.
Hawking.
Unless you're talking a character like that, or Richard Dawkins, that kind of arrogant, thinks he knows everything, knows very little. I have my issues with Dawkins.
Yeah.
I would agree that that's a good characterization of Dawkins. I wouldn't have said that was a good characterization of Hawkins, though. Hawking.
No, not so much of Hawkins, but definitely Richard Dawkins. But that sort of...
Dawkins so far up his own arse, you can see out his own eyeballs.
Or, to put it another way, it's the characterization of Hawkins as he appeared in The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, not actually as he is,
not
but
actually Hawkins, but as a satire of himself.
There's so many of them did that though, because Will Wheaton did the same thing. He just satirized himself.
Yeah.
And hello to the Sassy Heathen.
Hi, Sassy.
Be sure to pull up a chair. I think there are drinks in the corner.
There will be.
Yeah. If there's anyone in the chat who knows anything about it who wants to hop in and contribute, just let one of us know.
I think this... I mean, I read through this and literally took notes on nearly every page.
Yeah.
There's so many references, both classical and biblical in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of different allusions and things in this text. I think he's a caricature of what religious people think atheists are.
Yes. And I think he's the origin of that caricature, or at least the basis of the origin of that caricature.
I think that caricature goes back a lot further. The man who knew too much. It's there in the introduction. Yeah. Icarus, hubris, the man who knew too much. Yeah. It's all there. So that archetype goes way back.
Yeah.
But placing it in this situation with a very Christian outlook. I can't think of anyone before Marlowe who did it.
Yeah.
And to see an archetype like that before Marlowe, you've got to go back to pre-Christian texts.
Yeah.
because obviously the big point of Faust is not that he's an atheist, it's that he's I'm going to say pagan coded, and I say that in inverted commas.
And that's because obviously in the text he isn't an atheist, because he is, he obviously does believe God, Yahweh exists. In the text itself, I said, I'm being purposefully hyperbolic.
Yeah, no, he questions the existence of a God.
Yeah.
But he pulls the classic, soldier in a foxhole. Yeah. When I had nowhere else to go, I went to my knees vis-a-vis Lincoln.
Which is another trope that especially Christian media likes to apply to atheists.
Yeah, the character is, as Michael Raptor's just put it, he's very angry at God.
Yeah.
Because God is essentially, he doesn't feel like, he feels like he's found something that's more powerful than God. And the devil answers his call, and God's never done that.
Yeah.
Whereas actual atheists only get angry at Christians, not at God, because we don't believe in that God.
And hello to Titan Uranus.
He was a big old smarty pants.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But so that essentially is my take. And so how much do you disagree with it now that I've somewhat explained it?
I think there is nuance in the statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in trouble for being so clickbaity.
Yeah.
But I think it's a representation of what out thinking an atheist is. He's not an atheist.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
We do see in Shakespeare texts that are largely contemporary. We see it in, texts earlier than that, fantasy tales. There are examples of characters who are not devout or who are angry at God. We do see characters like that. So I'm not entirely sure he's the first, although it's been a long time since I've cared about pre-Renaissance English literature.
Yeah.
So my memory might be fuzzy.
Fair enough.
I believe there's probably something there.
Okay.
I mean, you could probably argue that even characters like the sheriff from Robin Hood are at least analogous to an atheist in certain adaptations.
And of course, Faust is really, really full of himself in the fact that he refers to himself in the third person all the time.
No. The use of the third person to refer to oneself in dramatic texts in the Renaissance was not that he was full of himself. It's to indicate to the audience that he's speaking in a soliloquy.
Oh, okay.
It's a theatrical device. It's nothing to do with
the but he refers to himself in the third person even when addressing other characters. Yeah,
it's a theatrical device.
Okay, so that's me.
They'd have had multiple actors playing.
That's my modern projection onto it.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to go and get a box of tissues.
You swear it's not COVID. Jen is fine.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't matter if it was COVID because I can't give it to you anyway.
Yeah. That would completely redefine computer viruses.
Yeah.
It would. If people could catch computer viruses. Yeah.
So, I mean...
The major downside of cybernetics.
Oh, well, yeah. As we move towards the singularity and we start having more implants put on us.
We're not talking about that now.
Sorry.
Maybe if we do an episode on Neuromancer.
Yeah. As well, Ring, just to point out, a lot of the way Faustus speaks is just to fit in with the iambic pentameter and the black verse.
Yeah.
Marlowe was very well known to have actually been a very intelligent writer.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that's there as well. You see it in sort of again, if you're looking for contemporaries of Marlowe, you're looking at Shakespeare.
Yeah.
You're looking at John Donne. Those kind of characters. And there's a lot of Renaissance tropes in this text.
Yeah.
The reference there's a reference to America that links it back to the Golden Fleece at one point. Yep. And that's literally because America at that time was the new world it was the end of the earth.
Yeah.
And that's all that means. That's what that's a reference to.
Yeah, I think that's when he's, talking about summoning spirits to, well, he's planning the grand things he's going to do with all this magical power.
Yeah.
Now, in Faustus's opening soliloquy, he does quite a bit of Latin speaking.
I have translations already. I went through and read them and checked the translation.
Yeah, because I'm sorry for not giving you forewarning, but you know me. But
yeah, I know you.
I was going to ask
before, so I knew about them.
Since you are something of a classicist.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from right at the start, this is a bit you actually missed off in the initial chorus.
Yeah.
The first, I'm just looking at it. 2 lines of the chorus, there's an immediate classical allusion there.
Yeah.
Not marching now in fields of Thrasimene, where Mars did meet the Carthaginians. That's a reference to, because I took the note here, the Battle of Lake Trasimene was fought when the Carthaginian force under Hannibal ambushed a Roman army commanded by Gaius Flaminius in 217 BC during the Second Punic War. So immediately you've got your classical allusions there. And this is something Marlowe does that Shakespeare tends to avoid. Marlowe is of the two, I prefer Marlowe, even though Shakespeare was more prolific. And I say that because Marlowe doesn't treat his audience like idiots and doesn't descend into fart and sex jokes. And that's very interesting. And again, immediately we've got the wax and winds reference that you read out at the beginning, which is your Icarus. And you comment on Aristotle. This comment from Aristotle about Aristotle underlines the entire play. And if you don't understand this comment, you miss a lot of the nuances of this play.
Yeah.
So he says Faustus is he lives and dies in Aristotle's works.
Yeah.
And he says sweet analytics. So he's telling you straight away which Aristotle work he's talking about. He's talking about analytics. Now there's two sets of analytics. There's the prior analytics, in which Aristotle essentially establishes the concept of where is it?
And yes, Marlowe and Shakespeare were contemporaries.
Yes, they were. Yeah, they were contemporaries. In fact, there's in Shakespeare in Love, one of the lines in it says that Shakespeare thought he'd caused the death of Marlowe and grieved him, and acknowledged his debt to Marlowe.
Yeah.
So it is worth having a look at. Now, where have I got here? Right. So Aristotle's the one who came up with deductive reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, all distant objects all stars are distant objects. All distant objects twinkle. Ergo, all stars twinkle. In a very simple terms, that's what deductive reasoning is. Yeah. It's just Sherlock Holmes. It's, if A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
There's a great Wikipedia page on it. Go check it out. It's brilliant. That's the prior analytics in which he establishes that. But then there's the next one, the posterior analytics. Behave, Titan.
I was going to say something, but I think the chat will do it anyway.
Damn it, Jen. In which he sort of expands on that and provides a lot more. And that's important because the comments that follow that immediately put that into practice. So your deductive reasoning. There's a great bit
So
of
he expanded
comedy.
on his posterior.
Damn it, Jen.
I'm gonna be me.
Yeah. And you get the first, and then you immediately get your first Latin.
Yeah.
In which he essentially boils down the goal of using analytics. I'm not going to read the Latin. I'm just going to tell you the translation because we all know my Latin is horrendous in spoken. But to argue well is the goal of logic.
Okay, so he isn't. So it isn't written in there just to make him look full of himself.
In fact, he actually says it. He says the Latin and then repeats it in English. It's an important comment. He's basically saying that, you know, this is the basis of all his academics.
Yeah. And hello, Sophia Soros. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
and
Sophie. Hi, Paul.
Hamish.
So he's essentially, what Faustus is doing is deciding what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
He's essentially done everything. He's got his PhDs in like 4 subjects or equivalent of.
Yeah.
Wants to decide what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, well, logic is this. But once you know how to argue, there's no more in logic, is what he's getting at there.
Yeah.
And then he there's this line he comes out where the philosopher ends, the physician begins.
Yeah.
Which it states in the text. He's also a trained physician, a trained doctor. Yep. And, you know, wants to cure the plague. You know, this guy's not unambitious. And then I think the line that follows this is the most important line in this entire text.
Yeah.
It goes, yet thou art still but Faustus and a man.
And but a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what that's saying is he wants immortality, and that's his hubris.
Yeah.
That's what makes this a classical text. That's his hubris. And he is looking for something that he wants, you know, he can be Galen, but Galen's outdated now. He wants something that's going to last forever. And if he can't have forever, he wants perfection while he's got it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he goes into, okay, so should I be a lawyer? If I can't be a doctor, should I be a lawyer? You know, every person who's had pushy parents at some point has had that conversation. Yeah. And he says, and he reads about it. Of all the legal cases for him to pick up and read out, no wonder it put him off for life.
Yeah.
Because it's a very simple legal. Just the reference to Justinian, where is Justinian? Justinian's law codes. That's all that's a reference to. Followed by the Latin, which I will translate as, if one and the same thing is left to 2 people, one should receive the thing and the other the value of the thing.
A very pretty simple case of paltry legacies.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than the solution of chopping it in half. Especially
so he's moved on a bit from, and then a father may not disinherit his son unless, which is what that Latin is there.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just going to read this next bit out.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Such is the subject of the Institute and universal body of the law. This study fits a mercenary drudge who aims at nothing but external trash. Too servile and illiberal for me. When all is done, divinity is best. Jerome's Bible, Faustus, view it well.
Yeah, so essentially he's saying the law's too dirty for him. He doesn't want to be an ambulance chaser. That's what he's getting at there.
Now that's a word I haven't heard before. Ambulance chaser.
Yeah.
A phrase.
You've never come across ambulance chaser as a...
I have not.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. That's
it's more an American thing than a British thing. Would Ring care to explain?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
An ambulance chaser is the... the sleazy kind of lawyer who shows up at hospitals and like, oh, I see you've got injured. Would you like to sue?
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, did you recognize the next bit of Latin, Ray? You should. It's biblical. It's Romans 6:23. The payment for sin is death.
Ah.
So how is it said in Latin?
Stipendium peccati Moses. Peccati? It's a double C, and I'm pronouncing it with the K. Moses. Yeah. Ha. So yeah, the reward for sin is death. Pretty much. Or the payment of... I'm
The
looking at that
wages of
Latin
sin.
and I'm translating
Wages
it more
of sin is death. Payment of sin is death.
Yeah, the cost of sin is death.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting from that more than reward. But this translation we're using is from Project Gutenberg, so it's dated anyway.
Yeah.
So there will be, have a
Mistakes.
look at the Latin yourself if you can. You'd be surprised, especially if you were raised religious, how much of the Latin you actually know.
Yeah.
The next one, I've literally just taken down the biblical reference for this.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct rip out of the biblical. It's 1 John 1:8.
Yeah.
Right. Not a very well quoted text. But if we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. So he's essentially...
Yeah.
The thing you have to... This entire text is a little bit of a... This is Elizabethan England.
Yeah.
And the common Christianity is Calvinism.
Yeah. And he's basically saying the wages of sin is death. We are all sinners, so in religion there is nothing but death.
Yeah. And with Calvinism, the way Calvinism worked then was there were a chosen few who would be...
Predestination is wonderful.
Yeah, predestination, essentially. So he's essentially saying, well, if I'm damned, I may as well enjoy it. This is the argument he's putting across throughout this whole soliloquy. What will be divinity, he's essentially saying, listen, if I'm already damned because I'm not one of the chosen few, I may as well go the whole hog and sign up with the devil.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And he seems to like to look at the necronomic book. Necronomic book. Sorry, my tongue is not with
necromantic books.
Yeah.
Necromantic.
Necronomic books.
Necronominum?
Necromantic books are heavenly.
So, this is what he's doing. He's taking these books and he's taking the promises from these books and he's not reading them critically in the way he's read the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's it's the idea that the devil tempts with earthly goods.
Yeah.
And there's a great line from Mephistopheles later, which I will.
Which I must admit, that kind of attitude of thinking that they don't read it the same critically way as you'd read the Bible, that this person would read the Bible, is exactly a trope that's applied towards atheists and people of other faiths.
Yeah. Faustus, to me, I find Faustus to be a bit of a whipping post.
Yeah.
You're supposed to sympathize with Faustus, but you're also supposed to look at him and think, hey, you should have known better. You had the chance to know better.
Yeah,
you
dirty
had more
heathen.
than enough opportunity to save yourself. And you didn't.
Another great quote from this soliloquy. A sound magician is a mighty god. Here, Faustus, tire thy brains to gain a deity.
Yeah.
And hello, godless scummer.
Yep. Hey, scummer.
Hi, Jeff.
And then we cut completely, or we have a new character brought in. I'm going to pronounce it Wagner, like the composer, because it's German.
It probably was pronounced the same.
Yeah, and he is Faustus's secretary.
And he is a snarky little shit, and I love him.
I love him. He's amazing. I want Draco Malfoy to play Wagner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work.
He's got the snack. His master, schoolmaster, not fan fiction master, although it's probably out there. His schoolmaster has taught him his Aristotle.
Yeah.
Which we will get to, but before we get there, we have, let's see. So he only comes in and he's one line where essentially Faustus basically sends him off to run an errand.
Yeah.
And he's very obedient. And then we have our good and evil angel, which I just I love it. It's so delicious. It's Good Omens.
Yes, that's why I said Sean Penn and David Tennant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Faustus, lay that damned book aside, and gaze not on it, lest it tempt thy soul.
Go forward, Faustus, in that famous art wherein all nature's treasure is contained. Be thou on earth as Jove is in the sky, Lord and commander of these elements. He's basically promising him essentially the power of a god if he goes on is this evil angel.
Yeah.
And Faustus
is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Faustus starts really laying it on thick and really fantasizing about what his life could be. He buys into it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Spirits to act as his personal entourage of servants and slaves, and he'll have them fly to India for gold and ransack the ocean for oriental pearls. Direct quote, by the way.
Yeah.
They'll bring him pleasant fruits and delicacies and
from the New World.
Yeah, from the New World, from America. There is one thing I want to put on here, and this amused me. Now, this text was written pre-unification of Germany.
Yeah.
Germany did not exist on any map when this was written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a loose collection of a few different states.
Feudal states. Yeah.
Like Italy was before it unified.
Yeah.
And again, this is pre-Italian unification as well. There's a great line here that just made me laugh because it was prophetic. Yeah. He says, I'll have them wall all Germany with brass and make swift Rhine circle fair Württemberg.
Yeah.
Oh. A wall around Germany.
Yeah.
Someone took a peek into the 1980s.
Yeah.
That just made me laugh, and that's my modern, just me having a giggle.
And of course, I'll levy soldiers with the coin they bring and chase the Prince of Parma from our land, which was a Catholic,
Spanish
Catholic,
Spain.
Yeah, Spanish Catholic who was ruling.
So immediately we've got the nationalism playing into a German audience of, oh, he doesn't like the Prince of Parma, so we should like him.
Or rather, the Protestant nationalism for the English audience, because we're talking about a German who wants to get the Catholics out of Germany.
Yeah, and it's very similar to, and it's playing on that. Don't forget, this is Elizabethan England. This is, it's post-Henry. Henry was her father. This is post-Mary as well. So after we had the horrors of the Catholics and even the Spanish Inquisition, we've then got Elizabeth and the quote-unquote Golden Age. This is
is this pre or post Spanish Armada?
Oh, now you're testing me. I'm gonna say it's loosely contemporary, just because they're aware of America, which is always
a good timeline finder there.
But obviously, England does have
it is post. So the Spanish Armada was defeated by Francis Drake in 1588.
So this is within 20 years of it.
Yeah.
Within 25 years.
Yeah.
So it's in living memory.
Yeah.
And again, that's your historical context. Good catch.
Yeah.
And he wants to be sole king of all these provinces. So he's essentially positioning himself as Kaiser.
Yeah.
God, King of. Sorry. Gene
That's
reference.
what he's aiming for. This is what the character's aiming for.
Yeah.
With Germany being Protestant Germany, loosely Germany, and Protestant England, you can take a lot of the context. It doesn't matter whether it's set in Germany or England, it means the same.
Yeah.
Largely. Unless there's a specific reference to something like, Henry VIII or something like that, it's going to be, you can take the same meaning. And that's probably done deliberately.
And another bit of prophecy. Yea, stranger engines for the brunt of war. Then was the fiery keel at Antwerp's bridge. I'll make my servile spirits to invent.
Antwerp, yeah.
So,
Marlowe does this a lot, and he does it in Edward II as well. And I remember making this comment in A-level lit of, this guy was some kind of prophet. This guy was incredibly intelligent with incredible foresight.
Yeah. This is like some Jules Verne level shit right here. Only like further in the future.
Further
ahead. Like,
but I mean,
you would,
but he probably would have seen things that people like Da Vinci and that had drawn with their ideas of the future. So he wasn't. Yeah.
He's about 100 years after Da Vinci. This was written.
So
he's quite clearly familiar with them.
Yeah, he would have been familiar with Da Vinci's idea of flying machines and tanks and things like that. So it's not unreasonable for him to think, we've had progression since Da Vinci wrote this. Why couldn't we have more progression where this could be a thing? So that's the thing about people who write fiction. They've got good vision for what might or might not be in the future because they're very open.
I would be hard pressed to come up with a coherent argument against suggesting that Marlowe belongs in a speculative fiction section. As much as he writes his historical takes, a lot of the comments he makes and a lot of the words he puts into his main characters are very speculative.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So, and then we get... This is another classic trope of Renaissance drama. Shakespeare does it a lot. You're going to hear me talk about Shakespeare a lot because Shakespeare is the big one everyone knows about from this era.
Yeah.
At the end of a soliloquy or near the end of a soliloquy, they round up. Greatest trick in the book for any English literature students out there, if you're given a 3-page soliloquy, look at the last page, you will find about 5 lines that sum the whole thing up if you're in a hurry. This one, he says, philosophy is odious and obscure. Both law and physic are for petty wits. Divinity is basest of the three. Unpleasant, harsh, contemptible, and vile. 'Tis magic that have ravished me.
I highlighted that as well.
That is Faustus in a nutshell.
Yeah. So this is the question is this the same soliloquy? Because there is a break when his magician friends enter.
Yeah, they enter, but they don't speak. So technically, it's all part of the same soliloquy.
Yeah.
If you look at it, they enter, but they don't speak.
Yeah, they enter, but then the next line he addresses them.
Yeah, so you can class it as part of the same soliloquy, although he's essentially summarized. The previous all of that is him thinking to himself, and essentially here's the audience. It's inside. When he's saying it now, he's saying it in character to the other characters. Yeah. You have to assume that anything he says in soliloquy, the other characters don't hear.
Yeah.
It is quite literally one of those where the actors will stand still on stage and let him wander around and make his piece.
Yeah.
It's very much that Oh, what's that style that they often do in uses literary devices in crime novels where it's they're talking, they're in a monologue, and then it's back to the actual action. So I can't remember what it's called.
When Sherlock Holmes looks at a crime scene and everyone freezes and he walks around and looks at it, it's that moment in The Emperor's New Groove where it goes, hold on, everybody freeze, and pulls down and starts drawing on the screen.
Yeah.
It's, this is my design from Hannibal. It's that trope.
Yeah.
No one else is supposed to hear that.
In a movie, it'd be called film noir.
Film noir.
Film noir, yeah.
Film noir, yeah. It's that theory. And it is literally just designed to clue the audience in as to what the hell's going on. That's all it's there for.
Basically just breaking the fourth wall.
I'm glad you said that because I couldn't remember what that was called either.
Yeah. It's very
I mean, when it comes to Elizabethan theater, the fourth wall basically didn't exist.
The fourth wall.
I mean, they all did it, but I think they were aware of it too. I mean, it was a known trope to do that. I mean, part of the problem was the people who watched it didn't have the background for a lot of the history that was being put out there. If it was
in Shakespeare and Marlowe's time, the theater-going experience was a lot more of a give and receive.
Yeah, it's a lot more. You can. When you look at Elizabethan theatre, you can see where pantomime came from.
Yeah.
Oh,
you can see the line. Because it's that give and receive, it's callback with the audience would interact. Anyhow, the audience didn't like the acting, you're going to get a piece of rotten fruit in the face. That's going to happen. It's take it or leave it.
This isn't one of the gloomy ones, is it?
No.
I don't like the gloomy ones.
It's that. And the thing, if anyone, I know Ring has, but if anyone's ever been to the Globe Theatre or seen the way it's laid out,
no, I haven't.
In front of the Globe Theatre, the cheap seats are basically a mosh pit.
Yeah.
People stand and watch it. And then you've got seating around the edge for people who can afford seating. Yeah. Higher up, you've got more expensive seats and so on and so on. So, it's that.
Yeah.
And the idea is always, you have to pitch to every level of the crowd. There's no point in making a joke about Icarus and Aristotle that only the top 5 people in your audience are going to understand.
Yeah.
That's why you need an aside to explain it to the plebs in the mosh pit.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here.
Sometimes it's done by a clown-like character who'll walk on and address the audience and is sort of separate from the rest of it.
Yeah. This is what the chorus is for as well.
Yeah.
The chorus is very much there to set the scene and explain what's going on to the audience who might not necessarily be able to follow it as well as those who are more educated.
Yeah, the chorus is very much like the narrator who, goes there to set the stage.
And in a modern play, Chirac, Diomedes is your chorus. He's a perfect example of what a chorus is.
Or, the prologue to Romeo and Juliet, 2 houses both alike in dignity in fair Verona where we lay our scene.
Yeah. Or you've all seen films that start off, the famous one is Star Trek where it rolls up the screen.
You mean Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where it rolls up the screen and tells you what's been going on throughout the history, or you get a narrator telling you the story as it hangs over the landscape.
Yeah.
That's essentially the chorus. That's what the chorus is for.
Or in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings with Galadriel talking about the history of the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You might have an expose where they're actually explaining it to a new character that hasn't experienced it. So that's not for the character, obviously. That's for the audience.
Yeah.
So the audience gets
novels, it's your info dump.
Yeah.
It's a way of info dumping.
A lot of modern plays do it in the program. But of course, when Shakespeare wrote these things, not everyone could read and write. No. So you have to do it in the dialogue.
In the average theatre audience in this era, the only people you can assume were literate are the actors.
Yeah. And
you'd have a few of the other people who are in the more expensive paid seats who probably could.
Not necessarily. A lot of them would have hired secretaries if they couldn't read.
Yeah.
Famously, several members of the royal family in this era couldn't read and write.
Oh, okay.
Or if they could read and write, it was very basic functional literacy. It wasn't what we would call literacy. It was, I can sign my name. I can read simple instructions. I can read a recipe for a basic meal. It was that kind of functional literacy, or what they call, in this era, a lot of people would have had what they called essentially the literacy you would require to do your job.
Functional.
Functional
literacy.
So you would have had, say, if you have someone who makes horseshoes for a living, he would have been able to read the word horseshoe. He would have been able to read words to do with metal and anvil and hammer and, things like that. If you had a thatcher, he would be able to read about grass and thatch. But ask him to read something else and he wouldn't have had a clue.
Yeah.
Literacy it was a rich man's game until very
I never really thought about the fact that any actors of the day would have had to come from families where they could actually afford to learn to read and write.
A lot of actors could have learned it by parrot fashion as well, where someone read it.
There was apprenticeships for actors as well, wasn't there? So
actors would have had apprenticeships and things in which they'd have probably learned to read.
Read and write,
actors learn parts by heart, by rote.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that they'll learn a part once and play the same part for several years.
Well, of course, in this day, like, the entire play wasn't written out, like, in one document. Basically, the actors just had their lines, and that was how the play was written.
Mm-hmm. You would never have got a document like we're looking at now, where all the different parts are one after the other. You'd have had a document for Faustus, a document for Mephistopheles, a document for Wagner, a document for Valdez, a document for Cornelius, a document for the devil. And that would have been all they saw.
Yeah. But there was still a master document, though.
No. What we have as, master documents were collated in later.
So the only person who would have had a master document would have been your director
and the author.
And the
author. The director was the author.
Generally.
The producer,
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. There still would have been a master, but it would have just been for the director, because somebody had to know where everything came, what the lines were before and everything.
What the actors would have had is their cue written at the top of. So they may have had the last line of the last person before their cue, so they knew when to come in. But that'd have been it. It's a way of not distracting actors with other people's parts. And reducing the workload. And things like the chorus, things like characters who have a lot of lines, you'll notice in a lot of Elizabethan theatre, they're always reading. They're always holding a book or a scroll or something.
Yeah.
Because the actor would have had his lines on that scroll. As a prompt sheet. And that's what that's there for. They do it in modern cinema. You've probably seen it 100 times, where you've got actors who are meant to be reading a book or something, and if you zoom in on the screen, it's their lines that are on there.
Yeah. Or you can tell that they're reading a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Because they weren't able to learn those lines.
But largely, this scene is Valdez, Cornelius, and Faustus planning all the great stuff that magic will do for them.
Yeah.
Or in other words, Faustus, these books, thy wit and our experience, shall make all nations to canonize us. As Indian Moors obey their Spanish lords, so shall the spirits of every element be always serviceable to us three.
Of course, you probably should have given a trigger warning before reading that line. It's Elizabethan.
Yeah.
And then we have and then we have our two scholars who enter.
Yeah.
This line break, and because they've all exited and we've got now scene 2. This line break is fantastic, and it's a wonderful bit of comedy smack in the middle of a tragedy.
Yeah.
What you have to understand about tragedy in drama, it's not tragedy because it's sad. That's not what a tragedy is.
Yeah.
A tragedy is a serious story.
Yeah.
The difference between a tragedy and a comedy is a comedy has a happy ending. That's it. That's the definition of a comedy in Elizabethan drama.
Yeah.
It has a happy ending. Doesn't matter what happens in between. That's why a lot of Shakespeare's comedies, we look at them and like, they're not funny. They're not meant to be funny. They're meant to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Or at least a semi-happy ending. And these two scholars and the way Wagner plays them is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
This line, how now, Sirrah, where's thy master?
God in heaven knows.
Why dost not thou know?
Yes, I know, but that follows not.
He's basically playing Aristotle with them.
Yeah.
He's showing that he's a good student.
Yeah. And he's being a snarky little shit about
He's
it.
a snarky little shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I can see Titan saying not exactly to my comment about comedies having happy endings. I'm really, really generalizing at this point because we're on a YouTube live stream. I appreciate there's more nuance than that.
Yes.
But in its you know, it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yes, if they deserve it and they die, then it's still a comedy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a happy ending.
So, spoiler warning for a 16th century play. But
no, I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it would have been funny, but it's in very, very bad taste, so I'm not saying it.
But there is kind of a play long joke with these scholars.
Yeah, it does it drags on, and it takes to the end for them to understand. And the idea is that these scholars are not as learned as Faustus was at the beginning.
Yeah.
They are limited.
Well, because this is something that I picked up the first time I read through it. So, as the first scene with the scholars, they're like, oh, Faustus better not be studying that black magic. And then at the end of the play, Faustus says to the scholars, so I sold my soul to the devil. And the scholars are like, what?
Yeah. They are kind of, and then they offer to pray for him and save him.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Shocked Pikachu face.
Yeah, I like this line from Wagner of, I will tell you, yet if you were not dunces, you would never ask me such a question. For is not he corpus natural and is not that mobile, then wherefore should you ask me such a question? He's basically saying, you asked me where he was, and I said God knows.
Yeah.
You took that to mean I didn't know. But I do know, and because I know, God knows.
Yeah.
It's the Aristotle playing out.
Yeah. Or he could be saying that he's God because he knows.
Or no, when he answered God knows, obviously God knows because God is omniscient.
Yeah.
Whereas God must know if he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's getting at. That's the joke.
Yeah.
And then these, as you said, these two scholars, very, I fear he's fallen into that damned art for which they too are infamous through the world. And come, let us inform the rector and see if he, by his grave counsel, can reclaim him. So they're suspicious. They are suspicious. I mean, if I had a guy who was that obsessed with Aristotle, I'd probably be a bit suspicious too.
Yeah.
Where's my next highlight? And then we eventually get to Faustus summoning Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
I am not translating this entire Latin for you. This is a long-ass bunch of Latin.
No, yeah, this Latin is literally basically the ritual to summon Mephistopheles.
That's literally all it is.
Yeah.
But,
so, Mephistopheles...
Oh, can we do it?
I mean, I've got the translation, but I'm not reading it all out. It's fucking long.
Yeah. But, so...
No, I was saying, can we summon Mephistopheles? Because that'd be cool.
Okay, so, okay.
No, my Latin's not good enough. I'll probably accidentally,
Then fear not, Faustus, but be resolute, and try the uttermost magic can perform. Sint mihi Dei Acherontis propiti, valiet numen triplex Jehovah, igni erae, aquitani spiritus salvete, orientis princeps Beelzebub, inferdi ardentis monarchae demagorgon propitiamus, vos ut apparet e surgat Mephistopheles, quad tumeraris, per Jehovam Gehennem e consecratum aquam quam nunc spargo, sig numcis crucis, quad nunc facio e per vota nostra ipse nunc surgat nobis dictatus Mephistopheles.
Do you know what I love about the way you're reading out all these extracts?
He didn't come.
You've got the style down pat.
Yeah.
There's a great thing, slight aside. On the Audible version of this, someone's given it a 3-star review because, quote, the presentation and the acting is hammy. It's like this person doesn't know what Elizabethan theatre is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be hammy. Believe me, that's the entire point. But seeing as you did it in Latin, I will read out the translation. Although I'm not doing it in that style. You can.
Yeah.
Smile on me, gods of Acheron. May the triple deity of Jehovah prevail. Spirits of fire, air, water, hail. Beelzebub, prince of the east, monarch of burning hell, and Demogorgon, we propitiate ye, that Mephistopheles may appear and rise. Why dost thou delay? By Jehovah, Genna, and the holy water which I now sprinkle, and the sign of the cross which now I make, and by our prayer may Mephistopheles now summoned by us arise. It's an old translation. I didn't translate that myself, but it's I cross myself, I sprinkle water. Mephistopheles, get your ass up here.
Yeah.
Okay,
and there's a lovely dig at Catholics here, and of course it would be from an Elizabethan English play, but so Mephistopheles shows up and he's ugly as sin.
Yeah.
And Faustus, disgusted, says, I charge thee to return and change thy shape. Thou art too ugly to attend on me. Go and return an old Franciscan friar. That holy shape becomes a devil best.
Yeah, fantastic line. It's such if you've ever been Catholic or if you're an ex-Catholic and you read this, see the problem with teaching Marlowe in Catholic schools, you've got the gay story or the devil story. That's what you've got. My school picked the gay story because at least they could try and claim that it was because they were best friends and buddies, and they'd fought together and it was sweet. And they basically pulled an Achilles and Patroclus circa 1800s. It wasn't. Trust me, Edward and Gaveston were just It's not even not hint. It's like it's there in the text that they were fucking just and I got into such an argument with my Catholic literature teacher about that. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Edward II, so I will refrain.
Yeah. I think the fair Titan is pleased.
Yeah, fair Titan is pleased. So, and then Faustus goes on, and he realizes that Mephistopheles and he thinks it makes him powerful because Mephistopheles came.
Yeah.
And then we get the frigging hilarious line from Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
When we hear one rack the name of God, abjure the scripture and his Saviour, Christ, we fly in hope to get his glorious soul, nor will we come unless he use such means, whereby he is in danger to be damned.
Yeah.
Basically, you brought this on yourself, arsehole.
No, yeah. Basically, he's saying to Faustus, you think you conjured me. Bitch, you just threw the chum in the water, and I'm the shark that showed up.
Yeah, basically. Essentially, Faustus thinks he's in control here. He's not. And what he's also, there's a undertone here. Titan, I think that's a direct quote from Edward II, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what he's essentially saying is, we don't try and pull people down. We wait for people to damn themselves, and then we come and pick up the pieces. You're the low-hanging fruit, mate. Don't get above yourself.
Yeah, and this is why I say Mephistopheles is snarky as hell, and I love it. I am here for it.
and I mean, what I love about this is Faustus thinks he's so clever and completely misses that.
Yeah.
What about Ron Perlman as Mephistopheles?
I can see it.
Yeah.
I hope everything's okay, Jeff.
Yeah.
Do let us know if you need anything. I'm not going to say more. It's not for me to say, but best wishes to Jeff and to family. Going on there.
Best wishes, Jeff.
So now Faustus gets up himself and wants Mephistopheles to obey him. And Mephistopheles has already said, nah. I obey the devil. I'm basically the devil's go-between here. I'm the devil's lawyer, is what's going on here.
Yeah.
Any supernatural fans out there, Mephistopheles is Crowley.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good... Yeah.
Yeah.
Crowley. Oh, he'd make a great actor for it too.
Yeah.
He basically has already played the part.
Yeah.
He basically has already played the part, so we know he'd be good at it.
So, because we're coming on my favorite back and forth in the play.
But before that, when you made your argument about Faustus being an atheist, you missed out one of the most important things he says.
Oh.
That actually proves your argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no chief but only Beelzebub to whom Faustus doth dedicate himself. This word damnation terrifies him not, for he confounds hell in Elysium. His growth be with the old philosophers. He's basically saying, I'm not scared of hell because I don't believe hell exists. I believe in the old afterlife of the pre-Christian one. He believes in Elysium, not in heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Which is... so next time you want to present the argument ring, make sure you use examples from the text.
Yeah.
I put it on my literature hat. Examples from the text.
But okay.
Give the correct examples.
But he's arguing with Mephistopheles, and actually a lot of this play is just Faustus arguing with Mephistopheles. But But the dynamic is wonderful, and I'm here for it.
I'm well here for Faustus. I feel like there's a lot of fan fiction authors who are probably here for that as well, but I don't want to go check.
Yeah.
No. No.
Listen, if you can think there is slash fic of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, definitely.
So
imagine how Chaucer would have written it.
Oh God, Chaucer wouldn't have even hinted; he'd have just written it down.
Yeah. So here's my favorite back and forth. Where are you damned? In hell. How comes it then that thou art out of hell? Why, this is hell, nor am I out of it. Thinkest thou that I, who saw the face of God and tasted the eternal joys of heaven, am not tormented with 10,000 hells of being deprived of everlasting bliss? O Faustus, leave these frivolous demands, which strikes a terror to my fainting soul. It's basically saying,
hell is
listening
living
to you is my hell.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying that, but he's also saying, in a more general term, that to live without the love of God is hell.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know if it's in Christian doctrine, but it's a very Catholic thing.
But
it is, yeah.
One of my favorite lines in the play is, "Why this is hell, nor am I out of it."
Yeah, it also comes back from the Jewish thing that Jews don't actually believe in an actual hell. It's that that separation from God is your hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will have a look in a minute, Jeff.
Yeah. And so,
where were we at?
Yeah. So Faustus, oh crap, I skipped ahead. So Faustus has another speech.
Yeah.
And since we are waiting on Hissy, I'll go ahead and give you guys another dramatic reading, since at least one of the
go for it.
Yeah, one of the audience members is here for it. What is great Mephistopheles so passionate for being deprived of the joys of heaven? Learn thou of Faustus' manly fortitude, and scare these joys thou shalt never possess. Go bear these tidings to great Lucifer. Seeing Faustus hath incurred eternal death by desperate thoughts against Jove's deity, say he surrenders up to him his soul, so he will spare him 24 years, letting him live in all voluptuousness, having thee ever to attend on me, to give me whatsoever I shall task, to tell me whatsoever I demand, to slay mine enemies and aid my friends, and always be obedient to my will. Go and return to mighty Lucifer, and meet me in my study at midnight, and then resolve me of thy master's mind. And that's
one hell of a deal.
Yeah. So yeah, he's giving up, he's giving up his soul for 24 years of Mephistopheles, or of Mephistopheles being his bitch boy.
So he can do magic and he can do whatever.
Yeah.
Which makes you think, well, I mean, he's not really an atheistic character. He's just he's a lost soul character.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I was being purposefully hyperbolic when I titled this episode.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah, I'm not doing full theater voice because I have a microphone like 2 feet from my face.
Yeah, you don't want to project too much.
I actually did a letter in Thespians.
Yeah, so
in drama. In high school.
Ring is very good for sort of Elizabethan drama. He's very good at that. He's got that voice and timing down pat. Needs to work a little bit on his iambic pentameter and stresses, but he's not far off at all. And I think that's more to my English ears hearing it differently than how he would say it.
Yeah, I'll chalk it up to 4 years of drama in high school and a lifetime of reading the Shakespeare Practice Bible.
Yeah.
Did drama in high school too, so
yeah. I mean, I didn't at all. I didn't do any drama. My drama classes for 4 years was sitting in a classroom reading because the teacher couldn't be bothered teaching us. We didn't have a proper theatre, and so I just sat and read.
I got to play a lot of grandmothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, Faustus.
I was in a co-ed school, so figure that one.
Faustus tells Mephistopheles to go to Lucifer and say, "Hey, I'm gonna sell you guys my soul if you let Mephistopheles be my bitch boy for 24 years."
Basically, Faustus goes, "I want to deal with the organ grinder, not the monkey. Off you go, sweetheart."
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
you can't be worse than blind bastard Titan Uranus.
Yeah.
What note did I put here? Yeah.
Yeah, everyone on YouTube ends up doing drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the right sort, though. No, you've done drama on YouTube, well, on Twitter, Hissy. You've heard your own drama.
Yeah, but Mephistopheles is what I like about Mephistopheles is, and Faustus completely misses it, which is and it's something again that appears a lot in Elizabethan literature, a lot in Renaissance literature in general, and he's still a very popular trope. He is foreshadowing. He is what Faustus is going to become if he doesn't get his act together.
Yeah.
And Faustus doesn't understand because he's so full of himself and he's so taken by the idea of riches and all the rest of it. For an idea of, I'm going to put a pin in Supernatural, and I'm going to say, there's a scene in a Supernatural episode where a man's talking about selling his soul to the devil. Yeah. And he's just broken. Because he knows that the hellhounds are coming for him. Yeah. That's what Mephistopheles is. And this man sold his soul to be an artist. He wanted to be the best artist. But he didn't word it right, which is kind of what I think it gets it from this. The line in Supernatural is, "I asked for talent, should have asked for fame, should have asked for money."
Yeah.
Because the thing about dealing with the devil is you've got to be very specific.
Yeah. And of course, Mephistopheles exits, and we cut to another comedic interlude with our favorite snarky little boy, our favorite snarky secretary, Wagner.
And a clown.
Yes.
Now, more like a court jester than clown, just to put that out there. A comic character is the general idea. He's a bit of light entertainment. He's the comic relief. Yeah. That's what he is. And there's this great, I do like this because Wagner apparently tries to employ him as his secretary now. So Wagner's getting as Faustus is getting as. And the idea is Wagner always, yes, Scummer, that's the episode with the Robert Johnson legend. It's season 2, episode 10 or 11, I think, maybe 8. Don't quote me. It's called Crossroads.
And it's the first episode you meet Crowley.
No, you don't meet Crowley in that episode. You meet another.
Are you sure?
No, you meet a Crossroads demon, but it's not Crowley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crowley doesn't appear till several seasons later.
Yeah.
But as Faustus is getting airs and trying to take on a demon slave, Wagner is getting airs and trying to take on a clown secretary. There's a nice bit of parallel going on. It's almost like everything Faustus does within the occult and within the supernatural realm, Wagner imitates in the real world. And yes, the episode is called Crossroad Blues, Scummer. I knew it was something.
And I think they actually played that song in it, actually.
Yeah, they did. They played Robert Johnson in that film.
And it is kind of a secondary theme to Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, where everything that Faustus does kind of bleeds out into his community.
And this Wagner wants the clown, "Well, wilt thou serve me, and I'll make thee go like," and then you get the Latin, which is whoever is my pupil. So essentially, he's I don't know a polite way of putting it because British schools. In upper class British schools, there's a concept where the junior students will essentially be servants to the older students. It's supposedly disallowed now, but I'd be very surprised if it didn't still go on. I'm not going to say the word because it's very similar to a slur for certain members of the LGBT population. But it's the idea is Wagner's offering him a uniform. He's offering him clothes. He's offering him a living.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here.
But, another parallel, like a teeny bit earlier than this bit is, I know he would give his soul to the devil for a shoulder of mutton, though it were blood raw. And the clown replies, how, my soul to the devil for a shoulder of mutton, though 'twere blood raw? Not so, good friend, by'r lady. I had need have it well roasted and good sauce to it, if I pay so dear. So
this man values his soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas we have established Faustus doesn't.
Yeah.
Faustus
which is why he's a good target. Because if he doesn't value his soul, he's easier to be manipulated.
To sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get a bit more this thing about Wagner trying to pay the clown in French crowns. It's just fun. I like this one. What am I supposed to do with French currency in Germany?
And of course, now that Faustus is learning magic, Wagner thinks he knows some too. Or I'll turn all the lice about thee into familiars, and they shall tear thee in pieces.
Yeah. So he's it's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, Wagner playing silly beggars and saying, well, I've given you the money, so you can't give it back now. You've accepted the job. When the clown tries to walk away.
Yeah.
Which is foreshadowing for a later bit of this drama when Faustus tries to walk away from the devil.
Yeah.
So again, parallels constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an interesting question.
What?
What's an alignment for Faustus?
Okay, so Class is obviously a fiend-packed warlock of the tome.
That you thought that quick.
Well, that's because it's so freaking obvious.
Okay, but alignment?
I'd say
chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
He's got a code, it's just his own code.
I'd say either on the borderline between chaotic neutral and chaotic good.
Yeah. I can go with that. And then
definitely chaotic though.
And then Wagner then summons two devils.
Yeah.
To go with Faustus's two angels. Again, he's really hammering this point home here.
Yeah.
You can almost see them stood on opposite sides of the stage being presented visually like that.
Yeah.
And he calls them in, frightens the life out of the clown.
And the clown keeps getting their name wrong.
Yeah, and the clown starts crying and freaking out, and then he sends the devils away because they've done their job.
And then there's a rather dirty joke about what the clown would do if he could turn himself into anything.
Yeah. You've got to appeal to everyone in the audience.
Yeah. You got to play to the groundlings,
joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
The line is, if you turn me into anything, let it be in the likeness of a pretty frisking flea, that I may be here and there and everywhere, or I'll tickle the pretty wench's plackets. I'll be among them a fair.
Yeah.
He'll basically climb up between their thighs and sit there.
Yeah.
That's what that's getting at. And then Wagner calls for the clown. He says to the clown, basically, "You're my servant now." And he tells him, "Walk one step behind me." So he wants him on his right shoulder. He wants him behind him on the right shoulder, so his left eye's in line with his right leg. The idea he follows in his footsteps. He's a servant. That's the position for a servant, a manservant. Let's see, and then we have we're back with Faustus in his study.
And of course, another bit of atheist stereotypes from the text. To him I'll build an altar and a church and offer lukewarm blood of newborn babes. Got a baby eating joke.
Baby eating joke. Yeah. And human sacrifice joke all in one, which goes with the comment that he believes in Elysium because Christians don't like pre-Christian polytheists.
Yeah.
And then you've got the good angel and the evil angel come to see him again. This has got a very you can see why the trope became Scrooge of sort of voice of reason and voice of vice.
Yeah.
Or vice and virtue. In ancient Greek texts, they would have been sort of vice and virtue, or embodiments thereof, which again plays into Aristotle, but ethics rather than here. So, and then Faustus now has this argument of, well, what good is prayer and repentance to me? God doesn't listen, God doesn't answer, God doesn't do anything. The devil has answered me.
Yeah.
So he thinks of wealth and then Mephistopheles shows back up to seal the deal, as it were.
Yeah.
Where's my Latin? And there's this great one where Faustus has a moment of actual brains.
Yeah.
Where he looks at Mephistopheles and he says, "If you're so miserable, why are you so keen to seal this deal?" And the Latin, "Salamen miseris socius habuisse doloris." Misery loves company.
Yeah.
Is what that translates.
Oh.
Misery loves company. Yeah. When Faustus says, what was it? And then Mephistopheles tells him he's got to write the contract in blood now.
Yeah.
His own blood. And the blood congeals halfway through, and Faustus starts to question, is this what my body wants? And Mephistopheles says, "Nah, just move close to the fire. It'll stop congealing. It'll warm back up and go liquidy again." And he writes his
and a great aside from Mephistopheles. Oh, what will I not do to obtain this soul?
Like, I'm going to put up with this dude.
Yeah.
Consummata mess, you don't need that translating. That's just, it's done. It's consummated. And Faustus has bequeathed his soul to Lucifer. But what is this inscription on mine arm? Homo fuego, whither should I fly? That literally translates as fly man.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but read that in the tone of Gandalf hanging off the edge of a bridge.
Yeah.
Fly, you fools!
Yeah.
Thou shalt not pass. No.
Yeah.
And then Mephistopheles comes back with some devils that shower riches on Faustus.
Yeah. And Faustus says, "But may I raise its spirits when I please?" And this is what it becomes famous for throughout the rest of it.
Yeah.
I,
Faustus, and do greater things than these.
Yeah. Then there's enough for 1,000 souls. And then there's no point in reading the contract. It's exactly as you would think it is.
Yeah.
It's for 24 years of riches and whatever he wants in exchange for his mortal soul. And
then
it's a combination of a contract that enslaves Mephistopheles for him for a fixed amount of time and gives him unlimited power.
And then he starts questioning Mephistopheles about hell.
Yeah.
Which he should have done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit late for buyer's remorse now, mate.
But even as he's questioning Mephistopheles about hell, he says, "Come, I think hell's a fable."
And then Mephistopheles' answer, which should strike fear into the heart of anyone, is, I think so still, till experience change thy mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why thinkest thou then that Faustus shall be damned?
I, of necessity, for here's the scroll wherein thou hast given thy soul to Lucifer.
Yeah.
And the brilliant response from Faustus, aye, and body too, but what of that? Thinkest thou that Faustus is so fun to imagine that after this life there is any pain? Tush, these are trifles and mere old wives' tales.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, you've given me something for note because I don't believe hell exists. Like, we're seeing demons and the devil and he doesn't believe hell exists. The guy is just ignorant.
An idiot.
Yeah. He still believes in his Elysium and in his... he's clinging to that.
But Faustus, I'm an instance to prove the contrary, for I am damned and am now in hell.
And Faustus, how now in hell? Nay, and this be hell, I'll willingly be damned here. What, walking, disputing, but leaving off this, let me have a wife, the fairest maid in Germany, for I am wanton and lascivious, and I cannot live without a wife.
Yeah, and of course, Mephistopheles spends the rest of the scene arguing about, no, I'm not going to give you a wife. You don't want a wife.
Yeah, and then he brings a woman.
No, he brings a devil dressed as a woman.
Yeah, which, I mean, to the audience, you can see what the joke is there. How would you tell the difference?
Yeah.
And Faustus and Mephistopheles brings this devil, and Faustus's response on seeing it is a plague on her for a hot whore.
Yeah.
Which is just a fantastic insult, and I need to save that.
Yeah. And then they go, and then he gives them, this magic book that's like, here's all this stuff that you want to learn.
Yeah, so everything Faustus asks about, he asks about, I want to learn astronomy, I want to learn history, I want to learn ancient philosophy and lost texts, I want to know everything.
And Mephistopheles turns to it in the book and says, here they are in this book.
It's here, yeah.
And of course, more will Faustus repent with the good and evil angels. Faustus, repent, yet God will pity thee, evil angel. Thou art a spirit, God cannot pity thee.
So the evil angel is basically at the point where he's telling Faustus, you've gone too far now, God's given up on you.
Yeah.
So instead of telling him, keep going, he's just saying, God's given up on you now, so you may as well. It's that Calvinist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting that that approach is put in the mouth of the evil angel. I feel like there's a bit of satire going on there.
Yeah.
And Faustus, my heart's so hardened I cannot repent. Scarce can I name salvation, faith, or heaven, but fearful echoes thunder in mine ears. Faustus, thou art damned, then swords and knives, poison guns, halters, and envenomed steel are laid before me to dispatch myself. And long ere this I should have slain myself, had not sweet pleasure conquered deep despair.
Yeah, and then of course
he knows he's fucked up.
Yeah, and then of course they go to talk about, you know, the more heavenly spheres, as in the planets and the firmament, because this is pre-heliocentric.
Yeah, it's Faustus is trying to push a heliocentric view, and Mephistopheles is having none of it.
Yeah.
He's having absolutely none of it. Faustus is saying, "Oh, is it, you know, our celestial bodies but one globe, as is the substance of this centric earth." And there's a great excuse given for why. Where is it? He says it. Well, resolve me in this question. Why have we not conjunctions, oppositions, aspects, eclipses all at one time? But in some years we have more, in some less.
Yeah.
Mephistopheles answers him in Latin, and the line is, by an irregular movement in relation to the whole system. So Mephistopheles, I mean, I'm trying to think, what's Galilee's dates?
Yeah. Hold on. Or if
so, this is smack in the middle of when Galileo would have been about.
Yeah. Galileo was born 1564. He died 1642.
Yeah. So heliocentrism, he championed. Let me see if I can. They presented it in the early 1600s, so it's around that time. It's very close to that time.
And it's also a few. It's a couple. You know, it's about 50, 60 years after. You know, depending on how long the play ran before it was published in the form we have it.
Yeah.
You know, it was also a couple decades after Copernicus died, who also championed heliocentrism. So we're talking hot button political issues of the day.
Yeah,
very much so. And just to give you a context, this version of the text was published in 1604.
Yeah.
King James Bible was published in 1611.
Yeah.
So it's all that era.
Yeah.
So very much there's a lot of politicking going on here.
Yeah.
And putting things in the words of Mephistopheles is a very interesting choice. Because Mephistopheles throughout this entire text doesn't lie.
Yeah.
He's not a liar. He's always straight up with Faustus.
Yeah.
It always seems to be the way in literary texts that devils don't lie. They get where they get with the truth. And it would appear that angels are often the ones who do lie, because that's actually how it happens in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about Mephistopheles is he always tells Faustus the truth. Faustus just chooses not to hear it.
Yeah.
And this is another example of this.
And then, of course, Faustus asked Mephistopheles who made the earth.
And Mephistopheles refuses to say the name. So obviously demons cannot invoke the name of God. And tells him, stop thinking about God, think about the devil. That's who owns you.
Hold on. Villain, have I not bound thee to tell me anything? That is not against our kingdom, but this is. Think thou on hell, Faustus, for thou art damned.
Yeah. And then...
Hey, Sammy.
Yeah. Hello, Sammy Jenkins.
So now Faustus is waking up and he's realizing, oh, you know, the good and evil angel reappear, and I like this. Never too late if Faustus can repent. If thou repent, devils shall tear thee in pieces.
Repent, and they shall never raise thy skin.
Literally, heaven and hell are playing out an argument over this guy's soul.
Yeah.
And Faustus breaks. The idea of it, Faustus breaks here.
Yeah.
And calls out to Christ his Savior.
Yes.
But then the devil appears.
Yep.
And Lucifer's line, Christ cannot save thy soul, for he is just. There's none but I have interest in the same.
Yeah. And then, who art thou that lookest so terrible?
I am Lucifer, and this is my companion prince in hell.
Yeah, because, Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Mephistopheles are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's really...
So who's going to play Beelzebub?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think Beelzebub actually speaks, does he?
Yeah, he's just there.
So it would just be an extra who looks the part. Yeah.
They probably put the clown in a different outfit or something for this.
Well, on the stage, yeah, but if you're making a movie of it.
Yeah. Computer generation.
Yeah. And then
I wish Jeff was in here for that.
So Lucifer is essentially Faustus has been called into the head teacher's office and been told off for naughty words.
Yeah.
And Lucifer offers to show Faustus deadly sins. Now this is fun. I can really enjoy this extract.
Yeah, and Faustus, that sight would be as pleasing unto me as paradise was to Adam the first day of his creation. Talk not of
paradise nor creation, but mark this show. Talk of the devil and nothing else. Come away.
Yeah.
Lucifer's bitter.
Yeah. And
he is Lucifer after all. I mean, what do you expect?
And so the 7 deadly sins show up and give little riddles about themselves.
And these riddles are fun.
Yeah.
Go on, you do Pride. I feel like you've got a family version for Pride.
I am Pride. I disdain to have any parents. I am like to Ovid's flea. I can creep into every corner of a wench. Sometimes, like a periwig, I sit upon her brow, or like a fan of feathers, I kiss her lips. Indeed I do. What do I not? But fie, what a scent is here! I shall not speak another word, except the ground were perfumed and covered with a cloth of arras.
You need to learn to keep your eyes open when you're doing these.
Yeah.
Although, great acting. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then we get covetousness.
Yeah.
I am covetousness, begotten of an old churl in an old leathern bag, and I might have my wish. I would desire that this house and all the people in it were turned to gold, and that I might lock you up in my gold chest. Oh, my sweet gold.
Yeah.
I wish I had the dialogue in front of me because I'd join you reading it.
Oh yeah. Honestly, you'd be bang on for Wrath.
Oh please. Send me the link.
It's on Project Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that's where I got it from. Where we got it from.
On Project. What?
Project Gutenberg.
Yep.
Go on then, Ring. You do Wrath.
But I really want to do Envy.
Part 1 for translated into. Where are we up to?
We're at what line are we on? We're about half. We're just coming up to halfway through.
Okay.
If you just search the document for 7 deadly sins.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Santa, they wouldn't have covered this in the Wishbone episode.
Well, the thing is, the Wishbone episode is on Galthy's version of the Faust.
Interesting. Why won't that search?
Marlowe.
Control F, Jen.
Yeah, no, I've done that, so it's not coming up as searchable for some reason.
Okay, hold on. Let's see.
You reckon about halfway down, so
Give or take.
Hold on.
neatly kept chamber? No, we haven't got that far, have we?
Hold on.
That's what?
I am putting it in the private chat for you.
Ah, that works. Oh, okay. There, that works.
Yeah.
I am wrath. I am neither father nor mother. I leapt out of a lion's mouth, and when I was scarce half an hour old. And ever since I have run up and down the world with this case 3 of rapiers, wounding myself, and then I had nobody to fight. I've lost my line. Withal, I was born in hell, and look to it, for some of you shall be my father.
And
That's a great wrath. I love it. I feel like I'm the one letting the side down with the voice.
It would have been better if I hadn't lost my spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on line 106 if anyone's following on.
Yeah. Now, I am envy, begotten of a chimney sweeper and an oyster wife. I cannot read, and therefore wish all books were burnt. I am lean with seeing others eat. Oh, that there would come a famine throughout all the world, that all might die, and I live alone. Then thou shouldst see how fat I would be. But must thou sit and I stand? Come down with a vengeance. But yeah, that's why I wanted to do envy, because the line I cannot read and therefore wish all books were burned.
Yeah.
Who wants to do gluttony?
I'll do gluttony.
Yeah.
Go on, do gluttony.
Who? I, sir. I am gluttony. My parents are all dead, and the devil a penny they have left me, but a bare pension, and that is 30 meals a day and 10 beavers. A small trifle to suffice nature. Oh, I come of a royal parentage. My grandfather was a gammon of bacon, and my grandmother a hogshead of claret wine. My godfathers were these, Peter Pickle Herring and Martin Maltonless Beef. Oh, but my godmother, she was a jolly gentlewoman, and well beloved in every good town and city. Her name was Mistress Margaret Marchbeer. Now, Faustus, thou hast heard all my progeny. Wilt thou bid me to supper?
No, I shall... no, I'll see thee hanged. Thou wilt eat up all my victuals.
Then the devil choke thee.
Choke thyself, glutton. Wert thou the 6th? And of course, the 6th is sloth.
Mm.
Do we want to keep going in a circle?
Yeah. Okay, the last is death, isn't it? So
the last is lechery. Because we're doing
lechery.
The 7th.
I'll do sloth. You'll have to paste it to me in there.
Yeah. It's a short one.
That's right.
Let's see.
I'm sloth. I was begotten on a sunny bank, where I've lain ever since, and you have done me great injury to bring me from thence. Let me be carried thither again by gluttony and lechery. I'll not speak another word for a king's ransom.
I love that sloth is so short. Like, yeah. I'm a lazy bastard.
Yeah. I know what the other do. I want the others to carry me back to where I was, because I can't be fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, do you want me to set up lechery?
Who's doing lecturer?
Yeah. So, do you want me to read Faustus's line?
I will read Faustus for this. What are you, Mistress Minx, the seventh and last?
Who, I, sir? I am the one that loves an inch of raw mutton better than an ell of fried stockfish, and the first letter of my name begins with L.
Away to hell, to hell.
And then the sins leave.
Yeah. I have to say, your feminine voice ring is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But of course, all the female roles would have been played by men when it was first done anyway.
Yeah.
So, and the devil wants to know what Faustus makes of all this, and Faustus's response is brilliant. It's, oh, this feeds my soul.
Yeah.
It feeds a lot of things, mate, but your soul ain't one.
Yeah. Not when he hasn't got his soul anymore. He's soulless. He needs new shoes.
But yeah, he's loving this, and Lucifer tells him, farewell, Faustus, and think on the devil. And then
Lucifer also sets a time and says, basically, when your time's up, I'll come for you at midnight on that day.
Yeah.
Which is important for later on.
Yeah, and then exuents, and then the chorus goes and gives a brief overview of the mighty feats that Faustus performs during his time, where we get something of a time skip.
Yeah, we get basically he makes a name for himself worldwide as an academic, a learned man. Someone who knows everything. Even the hint that he might possibly dine with the Pope. Although
we're about to see him dine with the Pope.
Oh yeah. So the idea is that he has reached the pinnacle, because to dine with the Pope is sort of the greatest. It's there's no higher honor.
Having Kindle issues.
Okay, so we've got Enter Faustus and Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
So Mephistopheles is talking about traveling across Europe from Paris. They've seen the Rhine. He's been to Naples, and now he's heading to Rome.
Yeah.
And it seems like Mephistopheles is... They seem to be going there with a goal to whispering in the Pope's ear.
Yeah.
Given the way they're talking, although that's me kind of extrapolating a bit.
Yeah.
This great line from Mephistopheles: Faustus I have, and because we will not be unprovided, I have taken up His Holiness privy chamber for our use.
Yeah.
So we're going to sleep where the Pope sleeps.
And Faustus is like, oh, Faustus is all set to go do the touristy things, see all the sights. And Mephistopheles says, nay, Faustus, stay. I know you'd fain see the Pope, and take some part of Holy Peter's feast, where thou shalt see a troop of bald-pate friars, whose summum bonum is in belly cheer. And so
there's a little bit where Mephistopheles compares Rome to the pre-pagan afterlife, comparing Styx, Acheron, and I
kind of skipped over that part.
Yeah, Faustus essentially looks at the layout of Rome with the river and the bridges over the river, and compares it to the pre-Christian afterlife.
Yeah.
What's going on there as an imagery.
which is kind of interesting, seeing as how the Greco-Roman afterlife is heavily influenced the picture of what we have of hell by way of Dante.
Yeah. Although largely it's based our depiction. Well, the Judeo-Christian depiction of hell is more Tartarus than anything else.
But like I say, there was some there was some appropriation by way of Dante.
Yeah, Dante. The Christians do that. They get it from the Romans.
Christians appropriate everything.
Yeah, they get it from the Romans.
I mean, even their symbols are appropriated from other religions.
Yeah. But now comes one of the scenes I enjoy, and also a scene with the very top edge of special effects in Elizabethan theater.
Yes, making Faustus invisible.
Well, no, I'm talking about later, but
yeah.
This scene is where Faustus and Mephistopheles dick around with the Pope.
Phrasing.
Listen, that he's not that far off, to be fair.
No.
Yeah. So
basically,
break back Vatican.
They don't go quite that far, at least not in the text.
Yeah. But so Mephistopheles makes both of them invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pope and a bunch of a couple of cardinals and a bunch of friars enter. And
they're sitting down to eat.
They're sitting down to eat, and the Pope
gets under the table.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Pope gets his first course, and Faustus steals it right off his plate and eats it.
and this course was sent specially for the Pope.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then another is, my lord, this, and then second, my lord, this dish was sent me from the Cardinal of Florence. You say true, I shall have it. And Faustus takes the next course. Straight from the Pope's plate.
Which is, it's amusing because one of the great Protestant criticisms of Catholicism is the luxury and the indulgence.
Yeah, and so the Pope takes his glass of wine and says, "What again, my lord? I'll drink to your grace." And Faustus, "I'll pledge to your grace," and he takes the cup.
Mm-hmm. So basically, he's got the Pope convinced he's got a poltergeist.
Yeah. So.
And so the Pope does what any reasonable person in this era would do, thinking he had a poltergeist. He arranges a bunch of priests to get together
and perform an exorcism.
What's a story without a good exorcism, eh?
Yeah. And of course, while this is happening, the Pope the Pope crosses himself. Faustus is like saying, "Don't you do that? I'll punch you." And so he does it a third time, and Faustus punches him.
Hey, you were warned, dude.
Yeah. And so the friars come and start singing a dirge to try and exorcise Faustus and Mephistopheles. And here is the height of special effects for Elizabethan theater right here. Mephistopheles, and one of my favorite stage directions of all time. Mephistopheles and Faustus beat the friars and fling fireworks among them, and so exeunt.
That is almost as good as exeunt pursued by bear.
Yeah. Yeah. There and during one of the previous summonings, there's also stage directions that specifically call for fireworks.
Yeah. So they were very brave, considering most theaters were built out of wood.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's Henry VIII that burned down the theater and not this play. Though I am not surprised that allegedly people who went and saw this play reported seeing actual demons on stage, given the fact that like all the prodigious use of fireworks in this play.
Yeah. I need to check something very quickly. Hang on.
Yeah.
Before I say this, because fireworks. Guess what happened the year after this story was released?
Henry VIII?
No, guess what happened? This was published in 1604. Guess what happened in 1605?
The Great Fire of London?
No.
What?
The gunpowder plot.
Which is kind of ironic, seeing as how, in Dr. Faustus, it's, Marlowe's using fireworks to dig at the Catholics, while the gunpowder plot was a bunch of Catholics wanting to blow up the Protestant Parliament.
Yeah. That's just a nifty... I knew the dates was something like that, so I thought I'd check. But that just amuses me for reasons.
Yeah. Lots of reasons.
It makes my historian heart happy.
Yeah.
Because by 1604, when this was published, it would have already been a very popular play.
Yeah.
So it's highly likely that Fawkes and his buddies would have been familiar with it.
Yeah. And after the comedic interlude with, the comedic scene with Faustus and Mephistopheles dicking around with the Pope, we come to another somewhat comedic scene where some young apprentice has stolen one of Faustus's magic books. And for once, it's not Wagner. It's a couple of random servants named Ralph and Robin, and like one more, and they're gonna con this wine merchant with conjuring.
Yeah, they're just a bit of fun. Again, this is another one in Elizabethan theatre. It's an aside, isn't it? It happens a lot. It happens. My brain is thinking about the two guards in Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah.
They're very much these are the idiots characters.
Yeah, and Mephistopheles shows up and scares them. And
that's the end of that.
Yeah. And then the emperor, the Holy Roman Emperor shows up, because that's that's what Germany is right now. It's part of the Holy Roman Empire, which was actually the not so holy Germanic Empire. Mm-hmm. Not so holy, not so Roman kind of empire.
Yeah.
and the emperor's knight is kind of not having it. He thinks Faustus is a con man.
I mean, yeah.
And let's see. And the emperor's like, okay, prove, I hear you have all this power. Prove it by summoning Alexander the Great and his paramour from the dead.
So again, with Marlowe taking nobody's shit about who isn't and isn't gay in history.
Yeah.
And just proving that it was even then, even in the 1600s, it was generally accepted amongst the educated classes. They knew what they were looking at.
Yeah.
And before, and so a last bit, but between the knight who's just been needling Faustus the entire scene, and Faustus.
Mm.
That's like, do you hear, Master Doctor? You bring Alexander and his paramour before the Emperor. How then, sir? I faith that's as true as Diana turned me into a stag. No, sir, but when Actaeon died, he left the horns for you. Mephistopheles, be gone.
Do you know what that's a reference to?
Yeah.
A man with horns, because there's a bit later on. Hold on. It's a great joke.
Yeah. The knight leaves, and the next time, after this, the knight, so the knight, nay, and thou go, and you go to conjuring, I'll be gone, and he exits. The next time so should I put a pin in this, or should I explain the joke?
Put a pin in it until we get to the joke.
Okay, so this is a setup for a punchline. And then Faustus. So, and then, Mephistopheles re-enters with spirits in the shapes of Alexander and his paramour. Spirits
in the shape of, not the people themselves. It's a very important distinction. Shades, essentially.
Yeah. Though, the thing is, Marlowe plays rather fast and loose with the gender of the paramour.
He does a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah. Because the Emperor refers to the paramour by, she, her pronouns. And it's like, Emperor, Master Doctor, I heard this lady, while she lived, had a wart or mole on her neck. How shall I know whether it be so or no? Your Highness may boldly go and see. Sure, these are no spirits, but the true substantial bodies of these two deceased princes. And that's where we're
playing fast and loose.
Yes.
And he's doing it deliberately.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the feminization of the young man. It's essentially what that is. Because to all intents and purposes, the young man would have been viewed as effeminate for playing the subservient role.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to say this using fanfiction terminology.
Yeah, and
Alexander was a top, damn it, and he liked his boy to sometimes talk about his boy like he's a girl.
And so the spirits exit, and Faustus, will't please your Highness now send for the knight that was so pleasant with me here of late. And then the Emperor turns to one of his attendants and says, one of you call him forth. The attendant exits and re-enter the knight with a pair of horns on his head.
And this line from Faustus, how now, Sir Knight? Why, I had thought thou had been a bachelor, but now I see thou hast a wife. that not only gives thee horns, but makes thee wear them, feel on thy head.
Yeah.
It's a cuckolding joke.
Yeah.
He's basically telling him your wife's cheating on you.
Yeah.
Or that's what he's hinting at. Because that was one of the, the worst things, the worst shames for a man to have a wife. Because essentially it meant you can't keep your wife happy.
Yeah, and then there's, a bit of back and forth, and then Faustus has Mephistopheles remove the horns. And this is a very interesting thing, is, with the exception of the throwing fireworks, Faustus, like, the major feats of magic Faustus is shown to do in the play isn't actually done by Faustus. It's stuff that he has Mephistopheles do for him.
Yeah. Well, this concept of witches or witchcraft done by demons on behalf of witches is very common. It's
Yeah. And
then Faustus and Mephistopheles encounter horsemen, and Faustus sells this wonderful looking horse to the horseman for 40 pieces of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And warns him, you can ride the horse wherever you want, but don't ride him into water. And this is another setup for a joke. This is basically the comedic center of the play, where it's just joke after joke after joke.
Are you not going to comment on the 40 pieces?
I would have if it were 30.
Okay. You're not going to comment on the biblical numerology of 40?
40 has a lot of, there, 40 days in the desert, or 40 years in the desert, 40 days in the desert, 40 days and nights of rain. So 40 does pop up a bunch in the Bible.
Yeah, usually with some reference to death.
Yeah.
It's a nice bit of foreshadowing there for those who knew the biblical numerology.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you an Elizabethan audience would have.
And, of course, the horseman is like, well, won't he drink water? And he's like, yes, he will drink of all waters, but ride him not into the water. Ride him over hedge or ditch or where thou wilt, but not into the water. And so he, so the horse courser leaves.
And gets it into his head that maybe there's a reason Faustus didn't want him to ride this horse into the water. Maybe there's something special about that this horse does when it goes into water.
And there is.
Yeah. A disappearing act.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Faustus has a little speech about contemplating his mortality and damnation, and then falls asleep, and then the horseman re-enters completely covered in water. And turns out when the horse is ridden into water, it turns back into a hay bale.
So you can kind of see where the idea of vampires can't cross water and things.
Yeah.
It's that sort of idea, isn't it? Crossing water.
Yeah.
The cleansing properties of water do not suit evil. And
he wants to, the horseman, obviously having been cheated, wants to talk with Faustus. Faustus is asleep, so Mephistopheles is being the good doorman and saying no. And they argue a bit.
He hasn't slept these 8 days. I don't care if he hasn't slept these 8 years.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And the horseman grabs Faustus's leg. Faustus wakes up and tells Mephistopheles to call the constable. And the horseman is like, "Oh Lord, sir, let me go, and I'll give you $40 more."
So yeah.
Yeah.
So he's frightened the bloke with the idea of being arrested for breaking and entering, essentially.
Yeah.
And Faustus intends to make him make good on that.
Yeah. And then...
Thus we see how Faustus is a nasty piece of work.
Yeah. And then there's a scene with a Duke and Duchess where Faustus has Mephistopheles get grapes from a sunny portion of the world because this scene is in the middle of winter.
Yeah. And the Duchess likes them.
Yeah.
So this is just essentially this is what Faustus can do montage.
Yeah.
All right. I like the montage.
Yeah. Oh, but a very interesting. The last line of this montage is the Duke saying to Faustus, "Come, Master Doctor, follow us and receive your reward."
And then the very next line is Wagner on the stage saying, "I think my master means to die shortly, for he hath given me all of his goods."
Oh.
Which immediately, this is your Volta in the story. This is where things start to take a turn.
Yeah.
And we're back with our two scholars.
Yeah. Yeah.
As is Faustus.
And the scholars want to see Helen of Troy.
They've decided she must have been the most beautiful woman in history, therefore they want to see her.
Yeah.
And see whether it's true.
Yeah.
And so he brings up Ellen of... no, first of all, we have... an old man appears to Faustus.
Well,
and
no, because he does summon Helen, and she walks across the stage, and then the scholars marvel at Helen and leave, and then the old man appears.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, missed that bit scanning through. And then the old man appears, and essentially he's trying to
get Faustus to repent.
Yeah. It's one last trick from heaven.
Yeah.
And it's his warning. It's his our warning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is his last day on earth. The devil's going to come to collect now. And the heavens tried one last time, and Faustus has refused them.
Yeah.
And we have Faustus then trying to repent, but it's too late. And Mephistopheles calling him a traitor. And Faustus apologizing and saying, "No, I still worship the devil," essentially.
Yeah.
And reconfirms his vow with blood.
Well, and then Faustus summons Helen of Troy again and has a speech and molests her and has a speech about how he'll play the Paris in this role.
He kisses her, and it's very much designed. I think on stage, the stage direction is that he kisses her.
Yeah.
I think they would have played it on stage, especially in Elizabethan England, with this being a comedy. There'd have been a lot of hands going on as well.
Yeah.
because it's at the end of the day, it's a bawdy comedy. It is. It's pretty damn bawdy.
Well, it'd have to be with devils in it, so
yeah.
But yeah, there's and there's basically a moment of choice where the old man is trying to get Faustus to repent, and Mephistopheles is tempting Faustus with Helen of Troy.
Yeah. And of course, he's already said he's going to play Paris in this part.
Yeah.
So we know how that's going to go. How to tempt a man? Offer him the most beautiful woman to ever have lived. Is the joke that goes there.
And the scholars come back, and this is where they're like, what's up with you, Faustus? What? And he's like, oh, it's a surfeit of sin. And it's like, and so, oh, he stays my tongue. I would lift up my hands, but see, they hold them. Who, Faustus? Lucifer and Mephistopheles are gentlemen. I gave them my soul for my cunning. God forbid. So yeah, like I said, back at the, you'll remember back at the beginning of the play, the scholar's like, oh, Faustus, he's dabbling in that black magic. He shouldn't be doing that. And so after, Faustus conjures up Helen of Troy for them, he's like, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil. And the scholars are like, what?
Like, duh, no shit.
Yeah. And basically, Faustus has another long soliloquy
summarizing everything that's happened so far, basically.
Yeah, and trying to trying to hold back the clock, and devils show up and drag him into hell.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good literary analysis to be done on this final soliloquy. The use of enjambment in order to make it seem, because his words and the form alter. So there's a lot of enjambment in this, cut off sentences, cut off lines, run on sentences as well, designed to make it seem faster and to seem faster than it is.
Yeah.
That's why it's cut off almost. Each line is cut mid-sentence. And for that reason.
And also, this is something I learned at the Globe. While this play, was being staged in Elizabethan theater, they would have dragged him down through a trapdoor in the stage, because symbolically the stage was like there was an above part symbolizing heaven. The stage was the earth, and underneath the stage would be hell.
And there is a trapdoor in the stage.
Yeah, and there is a trapdoor in the stage. So literally, the devils would be emerging from the trapdoor and dragging Faustus down into the stage.
So very visual, as all Elizabethan theatre is, because again, it's made to be performed. That's what it's there for. And that's the end of the play.
Yep. Well.
Almost.
Well, since we began with me reading a bit of the chorus, I'll read the end.
Or do I want to hear you mangle the line?
Cut is the branch that might have grown full straight, and burned is Apollo's laurel bow, that sometime grew within this learned man. Faustus is gone, regard his hellish fall, whose fiendful fortune may extort the wise, only to wonder at unlawful things, whose deepness doth entice such forward wits, to practice more than heavenly power permits. And then the chorus exits, and then there's one last line of Latin.
One last line of Latin, which translates as, the hour finishes the day the author finishes his work.
Yeah.
Obviously, of course, it's midnight when Faustus is taken.
Yeah.
So that's the point. As possibly the chorus might have said that from off stage.
Yeah.
Or it might have just appeared in the text. I'm not entirely sure. It does look like that's words that are given to the chorus, because there's no.
Well, the chorus exits, and then there's that line.
Yeah, but if you look at it, it's still in the choruses. It's still attributed to the chorus saying it.
So basically, on one side of the coin, Dr. Faustus is a straight up morality play. It's like Dr. Faustus is pompous and dabbles in black magic. Don't be like Dr. Faustus.
On the other hand, it's a criticism of Calvinism and the depths people sink to when they think they're already damned.
Yeah.
So it's, in that sense, it's very... this, to me, is satirical. This is a satirical play for my money. Because there's no... You can write morality plays till you're blue in the face, but Marlowe was cleverer than that.
Yeah.
And
honestly, in my opinion, it seems like Marlowe took the structure of the morality play and basically built something far more nuanced onto the skeleton.
Yeah. And I think with this, it's a satire of itself. It's a satire of the morality play.
Yeah. And of course, Marlowe's digging at Catholicism because this is Protestant England.
Yeah.
But he is also having subtle digs at Calvinism, given all the chances Faustus is given to repent.
And doesn't, because Faustus genuinely doesn't believe he's being chosen to be saved. Because Calvinism. Which is why you're supposed to be sympathetic to Faustus, even though he's a bit of a dick.
And which is also why, in my opinion, a play like Dr. Faustus couldn't have been written, at least in England, couldn't have been written before Henry broke from the church.
No, it couldn't have. No.
Yeah.
Because it was written as a response to the doctrine that followed.
Well, yeah, also, any kind of digs, the kind of digs taken at the Catholic Church in Marlowe
you'd have got yourself,
wouldn't have been allowed in a Catholic kingdom. Like, seriously, there's a scene where he just dicks around with the Pope.
Yeah. Although, again, that's a trope of Elizabethan comedy to, bring down the rich and the powerful.
Yeah.
And to make fools of them.
Yeah. So, final thoughts, Jen?
Final thoughts. I think it's certainly an interesting play.
Yeah.
And covers an awful lot of very deep subjects, especially for the time, in a humorous and fun way, if you really think about it. But I don't think it's... in a way, it's carried some of the concepts and themes I still find funny now, but I don't know if it holds up the same way now as what it would have in its own time.
I think
you disagree with me, don't you?
For me, it's a literary tragedy, but I still find it funny.
Yeah.
I think I find it funny though because I'm an ex-Catholic.
The audience is picked at. Yeah, I think that's the problem for us in that we can find the comedy in it because none of us are part of that religion, so it's easy to see the comedy and how silly it all is. And whereas its literary devices were actually more, it was more a tragedy telling this story of woe of what happens, but we can just see the humor in it without having to have the woe.
Well, this is what I was saying about the structure of a literary tragedy is literally just that it doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah.
That's a very simplistic explanation. Well, Titan did say this, and very simplistic explanation. It's bad things happen to good people, and there's not a happy ending.
Arguably, all the comedy in the middle is, was put there on purpose to make the ending hit harder.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because, Faustus, sells his soul to Mephistopheles, and then we just have, a montage of comedic scenes just hitting you wham, 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 wham. And so the audience is laughing, having a good time, and then Faustus gets dragged down to hell after lamenting that he can't turn back the clock. And
the form of the text is that actually it follows his life, that form. So he's having fun, he's having a good time, and then wham, he gets dragged to hell.
Yeah.
So it puts the audience through what?
Santi, I'll say this again. Wishbone didn't lie to you. There are multiple versions of the Faust legend. I think Wishbone was an adaptation of Goethe's Faust, which was a novel. We're discussing Christopher Marlowe's play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think...
Because I think in Goethe's version, Faust does end up getting saved at the end.
Yeah. But I think I am going to go back to the start, and I am going to say, thou art but Faustus and a man. For conclusion. Because that's the whole point, that he tried to make himself a god. He tried to make himself as powerful as a god, but he could never escape the fact that he's a man.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate message of a lot of pieces like this, and a lot of Elizabethan morality is know your place.
Yeah. Which is kind of ironic, seeing how far past what they thought possible, what they could have even imagined was possible, we've currently reached in our modern day.
Yeah. Not only that as well, but this concept of knowing your place is a very classist concept. You know, I am upper class, I am middle class, but the idea that this was shown in a theatre, and the theatre was the great leveller.
Yeah.
The theatre, you had the expensive seats and the cheap seats, but everyone mixed. And there was none of this, Yeah. So the idea of having a very classist morality tale in the theatre is kind of laughable. It's really ironic.
But so we'll come to my final thought and one last hot take for you.
Oh, don't do that again.
You made me put my crocheting down, you're in trouble.
I like Dr. Faustus more than any of Shakespeare's plays that I've read or seen.
Yeah, no, I could go with that. I mean, I do like Shakespeare, but Shakespeare is also very dated.
I would put Dr. Faustus on a par with Much Ado, but other than that, I agree with you. And and from there, I would still put Edward II as better than both.
Yeah.
I think Marlowe was, quality-wise, Marlowe was better than Shakespeare, but Shakespeare's remembered because he was so prolific.
Yeah. Basically, Shakespeare was the Beatles of Elizabethan theater.
No, it's more like...
I actually have to go.
Okay. Any shilling you want to do before you go?
I'm over on Sit Down with the Bunkers right after this.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to close up real quick, but then we got into the weeds.
No, that's okay. I will shove the link in the thing for anyone who wants to go over, but I've got to be there because they want to start soon. So, all right, I will catch you guys later. I love you. Bye.
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 So what I'm going to say to you, Ring, is that to put it in a context, Marlowe was... How do I put this? Marlowe was the Robert Johnson to Shakespeare's Eric Clapton.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So didn't do as much, but what he did blew anything Shakespeare did out of the water, and Shakespeare would have owes a lot to Marlowe.
Yeah. And so, you have anything you want to shill?
Asterix and Obelisk. Jeff and I are doing that every week, alternating streams. Next week, it's on my channel. Not quite sure how we're going to do that because we're a little bit wary of the artwork next week. But keep an eye out for it. We'll come up with something, I'm sure. We've just done one this week, so go watch that. Asterisk and Caesar's Gift over on Scummer's channel. I have a new Twitter. Don't worry if you're following my old one. It's still there. That's now my main Twitter that you have if you're following it. My new one is Discourse Noodle, and that's for my fandom-related thirsty tweets and fan fiction.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in anything like that, come join us. Discourse Noodle, and if not, stick with Danger Hissy. I'm still there too. What else have I got to shill? Tony Keane is running his cinema in ancient Greece and Rome again. If you want to do it, he's starting it next week, so jump in quickly, go find him. He's Tony Keane 46 on Twitter. And he's doing the whole course for I think £70. Well worth it. I think you get 8 or 9 weeks worth of that, and you can log in from anywhere in the world because it's all on Zoom. It's all there. Yeah. So do go check that out. You can do individual sessions as well if there's only certain films and things you're interested in. So do check him out. You can find him on Twitter, TonyKeen46, and he's got a link to it. He tweets out a link to his course fairly regularly. So scroll down his page and you will find it.
And Sir Ginger, I don't have time for this, but not necessarily. Of course, as always, on Saturday, we have Secular D&D. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what Media Musings is going to be next week because I don't want to run the Storykeeper stream on a week where Asterix is on Hissy's channel.
Oh, can we do Edward II next week?
Sure.
As a secondary to this?
Yes. Sure.
Let's do Edward II. That'll be fun.
Okay, next week, Edward II.
Cool.
And
I'm here for that.
And with that, tagline.
Take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be careful.
And remember, indoctrination is a hell of a selfie stick.